bristling with weapons and looking all the more sinister for the complex array of radar aerials, making it appear like the giant mandibles of a killer spider attacking the victim caught in its web. At the controls, a square-jawed, blonde-haired young Nazi, dashing, daring, deadly, and devoid of mercy. No doubt this is how they seemed, and of course the experiences of Allied servicemen in the Second World War is, inevitably, far more familiar than those of the enemy. There are, however, a number of memoirs written by German veterans of the war, but only a very few have ever reached a wide audience, and most have long since fallen out of print, and with it, obscurity. This is a great shame, because it is important to understand the human experience of war in the round, rather than from the narrow prism of one's own national viewpoint. It is therefore very good news that Wilhelm Johnnen's memoir Duel unter den Sternen, first published in Germany in 1956 and then in English a year later, is being brought back into print. Johnen was one of those nighttime stalkers of British bombers, and a very good one too, with no less than 18 confirmed victories. His is a fine account, not of a Nazi automaton, but of a young pilot whose fears, anxieties, triumphs and pain are every bit as human as of those he was fighting against. The Luftwaffe was the only part of the German armed forces to have been created during the Nazi era, so it is perhaps understandable that it had the reputation for being the most Nazified part of the Wehrmacht. This may well have been true in broad brush terms, but I have certainly read as many contemporary diaries that show clear contempt for the regime as I have of those who beatify Hitler. Johnnen's account, published a decade after the war's end, sensibly keeps politics out of it. Moreover, as the book begins, he cuts straight to the chase. There is no account of his childhood, or even what motivates him to join the Luftwaffe. It is implied, however. Like many young aspiring pilots, the Air Force clearly represented glamour, excitement, and the thrill of being part of an elite. Just 18 when he joined the Luftwaffe, after gaining his wings, he was posted in May 1941 to train as a night fighter, an intense 6-week course. Almost the moment he arrived at Stuttgart-Echterdingen, he witnessed a trainee crew hurtle downwards from 6,000 feet up in the sky and explode into a million pieces. "A good start, I thought," he noted ruefully. "In a somewhat depressed mood, we fledglings retired to bed." Training was rigorous and often counterintuitive. Among the requirements was the learning of 60 consecutive hand movements blindfold and in the right order and with precision. By the beginning of July, he had been posted to join Nachtjagdgeschwader, NJG-1, Night Fighter Wing No. 1 at Venlo in the Netherlands. "A new life begins," he writes, then adds, "Night fighting was still very much in its infancy." This was true enough. In the early part of the war, Nazi Germany had not given much thought to air defence, and it was only Britain that had developed a fully coordinated air defence system, complete with radar chain, observer corps, radio, high-frequency direction finding, and ground controllers. Luftwaffe units began the war with rudimentary radio systems, and only within a squadron could air crew communicate with one another. Germany had far more sophisticated radar than Britain, but did not really use it in air defence. So it was that by the time Johnen joined the night fighter branch, Germany was only slowly feeling its way with a very embryonic air defence system. This would change, and with speed, but Germany still lagged behind in certain key areas. British radar, for example, had taken a massive leap forward with the invention of the cavity magnetron, which enabled radar devices to be significantly reduced in size. This meant they could be placed on board both ships and aircraft. It was technology that was